Morning once again. Lovely morning here on Hemlock Lake in Springwater, New York. I'm fortunate to live not far from here and can come here for a walk, a run down this hill whenever I want. Today I want to talk about the biopsychosocial aspect of the work that we as manual therapists, we as physical therapists, we as speech pathologists, we as any kind of therapists undertake when we say hello to a patient. I'm always struck when I see posts from folks still in school. It could be a massage therapist trying to remember all the muscle anatomy, origin, insertion, and the name of the muscle. I remember back in the early mid-'80s taking gross anatomy, which for me was, I believe, about 8 to 10 weeks, 5 days a week, for a summer, basically summer, spending the morning in lab and the afternoon in lecture, memorizing, all those muscles, but all the nerves, all the bones, all the joints, all the lymph channels, all the blood vessels, all those separate pieces of human anatomy that were crammed down our throats and into our brains in a very short period of time, with the expectation that that was what we needed to know in order to be effective. But the reality to me is those are simply parts of a whole that become important once you understand the complexity of we as human beings, as the biopsychosocial aspect of every injury, every trauma, every hope, every fear that we undertake. And when you touch somebody and in our clinical ego brain say, oh, I think it's the digastric at fault and we need to release or stretch or relax the digastric, we're missing a much larger piece of the complexity of the human being in front of us, and that is the psychosocial aspect that person brings into this room. Why that digastric, or why that quadricep, or why that pec, or why that diaphragm, or whatever, in our minds is all bound down. Looking at the person as a whole, I find a much more valuable way to engage with that person is not to say, oh, your digastric is tight, but when I move my fingers into that area that I know to be the digastric buried way under the skin and a lot of other good stuff, that's why I ask the question, what do you feel, to the patient? What do you feel at this moment? Not what do I feel? Because my feeling, what I think I feel, is tainted by my biases. It's tainted by viewing you as a piece of anatomy, that it's the anatomy that it's fault. But when I touch that area and I simply ask you the question, what are you feeling right now? I think that becomes the starting point for a much more meaningful therapeutic engagement than me telling you what the problem is. Because your answer to me may have nothing to do with that muscle. Your answer to me could be things along that psychosocial end of things that intertwine with biology, that truly make for a meaningful therapeutic encounter. So while we still have to know, or needed to know, all those pieces of anatomy, are they as important as we thought?